Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today by Rainer Zinow, Senior Vice President, Product Management for Small and Mid-Sized Enterprises at SAP. So, welcome, Rainer. And in today's episode, we're going to take an in-depth look into SAP Business ByDesign and SAP Business One and how both of these products sit within SAP's wider ecosystem. And before we do that, for this week's icebreaker, I thought I'd ask you a question related to ChatGPT, as ChatGPT seems to be taking the world by storm since it came onto the market at the end of last year, and it's been in the news quite a lot recently. So Rainer, I just wondered, where do you think AI could help you at home or at work? And while you think about that, I was just pondering this in my mind, and I'm just really hoping that, we can really get these telephone automated chatbots to work, when you ring your bank, when you ring your mobile phone provider, etc., because they never seem to understand either a word you're saying or who you need to speak to. So, Rainer, what about you?
Yeah, what about me? Well, I have two sons who are in the final stages of writing their bachelor thesis, respectively their master thesis. And I asked them for a bit of an update on what the hell is going on here with this ChatGPT stuff. And that was a couple of weeks ago. And I had a request in my inbox from one of my partners, and they said, "Hey, Rainer, can you contribute to one of our publications, 600 words about how SAP aids the digital transformation?" So, after 20 attempts to log on to ChatGPT, somewhere during the middle of the night, I got hold of it and said, "Give me 600 words, digital transformation SAP." And I read through it. I said, this is a lot better than what I had expected.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was quite impressed. So I took a couple of my team colleagues who are responsible for using AI ML capabilities in B1 ByDesign S4 and said, please take a look at ChatGPT and what we could do with it. And obviously, we're not the only ones in SAP. As you know, we have very close ties with Microsoft. But I wanted to get one perspective. And they showed me something interesting. They also used ChatGPT, and they asked ChatGPT to give them a detailed instruction how to set up a bot with Business One. So an automation scenario. And the system produced a text with 10 steps. Step 1 correct, step 2 correct, step 3 correct. Step 4, 5, and 6, pure fantasy, pure fiction. 7, 8, 9, okay, 10 fiction. So if you're not an expert and you would rely on that outcome, you would be in deep trouble. So therefore, as much as it initially looks exciting, I think if we would want to use it for support scenarios, and that's probably where it makes the most sense, like what you said with the bank, then we need to make sure that the result is factually correct, and that we are not blinded by a beautiful text with lots of bullet points, but no reality behind it. So that's aspect number one, which we need to look into. But overall, I think ChatGPT, and I'm really curious to see what Google intends to do in that area. I think for everything that is know-how related, That is probably the next chapter, and I also read that Google is nervous that the younger generation these days don't go to Google as their default, but they go to TikTok or ChatGPT, um, and that gives us at least a signal. The second aspect which we have to see is, especially if we come back to your example with a bank, you would say, um, check out my bank account, see if this check got registered or whatsoever. At least in Europe, you would immediately run into a GDPR issue on data privacy because ChatGPT will not commit to you that they put all of the mechanisms in place to filter out potentially personal data. So there, I think we probably need a mixture of, and my current bet would be something like Watson from IBM to run that under a GDPR regime. Uh, as soon as you have access to potentially personal data, and ChatGPT or something else for the non-GDPR related topics, and that then for the know-how related things.
That is fascinating, and I think we could actually look to do a follow-up podcast just on that subject. It's absolutely amazing, but you know that's great. So if you mentioned that, and I think in the news recently, I think
Mhm.
yesterday I heard about Microsoft looking at incorporating ChatGPT style AI into Bing.
Yes. Yep.
So it's all happening, I'm sure, in the end. But you know, and we'll come back to that a little bit later
Mhm.
when we're talking about Business One and by Design.
Yep.
But quite fascinating, that balance. There's still that balance requirement between human and machine.
Yes.
To you know, for that, you know, when you said step, I think step 1 to 4 were great. Most of the rest was fantasy, but that's very interesting, that
Mhm.
balance. But thank you very much for that, Rainer.
Mhm.
And you know, just to start us off, could you please give us an outline of your role at SAP?
Yeah, my role is I'm heading up the product management organization, and my specific mission is to look after the mid-market, and these are roughly 80,000 customers within SAP, so ranging from the small end to the mid-market. As I'm very long with SAP, I also have a lot of background on what we describe as S/4HANA, so our solution upper mid-market and large enterprises. So I'm also part of that leadership team. And I simply try to understand what are the unique aspects of mid-market companies. Why are they different from large enterprises or not just small large enterprises? And really drive then the necessary decisions on you have a different go-to-market model in that market. You go predominantly or even exclusively, you go through partners. When you do that, the other thing that you need to ensure is that um, a large enterprise company always has a huge IT organization, or mostly has a huge IT organization. So you can give them a piece of standard software and they will put it exactly in the shape and form that this large company needs it. In the mid-market, these teams don't exist. In the mid-market, this is the role of the partners. So you must make sure that whatever you build is perfectly customizable, perfectly extensible, so that the partners can really turn it into a micro vertical solution with the integration scenarios that that specific company needs. So I'm looking at features and functions, extensibility, cost of implementation, cost of knowledge transfer to make sure that the solution works in the market.
Thank you. And just focusing in on by design and business one,
Mhm.
what at a high level, what are the main differences between the two solutions?
SAP is pretty good in engineering solutions for specific market segments. And Business One, which we actually got, and that's more than 20 years ago, so it's not that relevant anymore. But we got it through an acquisition from a company from Israel initially, Top Manage, and we wanted SAP, and I think we've all read Clayton Christensen's book, Crossing the Chasm, and if you read that book, you see that the competition most likely will not come from the top of the market, but the competition rather will come from the bottom. Somebody will undercut you and deliver a good enough solution. And we wanted to have a strong offering in the lower segment of the market. And that's what we have Business One for. And Business One is easy to use. It's a perfect solution. If you have a single company, you just need a currency, you're operating in one country, then B1 is perfect. And there are thousands of partners who have built extensions for Business One, so it fits into any micro vertical. So that's really the strength of Business One. Um, and it allows you to do things like, for example, you have created a quote, the customer is standing in front of you in your shop and says, "Great, give it to me." Takes it out of the shelf, and now you only need the invoice. And this is something which you can easily do in Business One. You just produce the invoice, everybody is happy, you receive the cash payment, off you go. Um, if you go a level up in the market, you run into companies who say, uh, great capability, but unfortunately not compliant according to our standards. We want to have evidence in the system that the customer physically received the goods. So ByDesign is targeted for these companies, and is if a Business One customer looks at ByDesign, they may find it very rigid, because ByDesign enforces all of these compliance aspects. ByDesign will scream and shout if you assign to an individual user, for example, the right to perform payments to a supplier and at the same time change the bank data of a supplier. Because theoretically, this can lead to fraud. If you have it separated in two people, less likely. Um, but there are mid-market companies who say, Rainer, honestly, hey, we are a relatively small shop, and you know what? Jim is responsible, and he's the only one in our purchasing department, and we fully trust him. So you can tell ByDesign, okay, acknowledged, but should later somebody come by and say, did you make a conscious decision to give Jim both these authorizations? You will have a lock that you can say, look, during the implementation, we looked at it and we decided in this specific case, it's an acceptable risk. We acknowledge the risk, but that's okay. So ByDesign is targeted for these companies who have more than one currency, who are active in more than one country, who need intercompany capabilities, so a more grown-up organization, and who are not willing to make any compromises on compliance. So that is what ByDesign is for. And then if you go up one step further, and that is the big strategic ambition of SAP's for the years to come, is S/4HANA Public Cloud. At the moment for the upper mid-market customers, but we are doing a lot to make it even more attractive also for the mid-market customers. S/4HANA Public Cloud has many more bells and whistles than ByDesign, specifically when it comes to the manufacturing capability, logistical capabilities, engineering capabilities around project management. This is an amazing solution. I recently had a discussion with a customer who said, "Give me one good reason why I should buy or consider buying S/4HANA Public." And I said to them, "Look, if the solution fits for you, most likely it's the last ERP system you will ever buy because you can't outgrow it." And for everybody who has gone through an ERP transition from one system to another, this is a hell of a value proposition.
Hmm.
So that's what the portfolio is all about.
Okay, excellent. And whilst talking about that, those elements, and you mentioned uh, see the hope for the future to make the S4 public cloud more relevant and viable for smaller businesses. Uh, I suppose the elephant in the room at the moment was an article that was published towards the end of last year. I think it was in
Really, I have
Handelsblatt.
no clue what you're talking about.
And obviously, it was taken down. It was corrected, but I'd just like your view on that and what they
No,
were
to my
saying.
knowledge, it wasn't taken down.
Oh, is it not?
No, no,
Okay.
no. But to tell a long story short, I'm astonished and amazed that some people honestly believe that the German Handelsblatt is the press department of SAP. I can assure both the Handelsblatt and my customers that this is not the case. Um, the journalist has a couple of fair points, absolutely, and you're touching on it. How many products do we really need in the market, and what can we accomplish with S4? So there's nothing wrong about that, but the conclusion was wrong. So we are not taking ByDesign out of the market. This is a perfect, mature, robust solution engineered for the mid-market. And some of the people may know that I myself, I'm working in ByDesign now since 20 years. And after 20 years, I'm really happy to go back to everybody and say, look, we've delivered 39 business processes end to end. Yes, I have many more ideas about what I would love to add, but since last year, and this is the first time in SAP's 50 years history, I can now build capabilities once on the business technology platform and then reuse it with Business One, with ByDesign, with S4. If we would have had this interview 2 or 3 years ago, and you would have had some other of my colleagues in the interview, they would have said, "Yeah, Rainer again, him dreaming." Um, this has never worked in the past. Nobody else is doing it. Why should SAP be able to do it? And it is the second part of also the corporate strategy of SAP to double down on the business technology platform. And therefore I said, look, at my level, it's not our job to question the strategy, but to execute the strategy. And therefore, we said, let's take a topic which we really want to have, which is carbon footprint management, a topic not yet on the minds of all of my customers, but many. And the more we see CO2 taxation, especially in Northern Europe, the more of a topic it will become. And I wanted a solution. And it does, and it's a perfect example. I need it in B1, I need it in ByDesign, I need it in S4. So we built it on BTP. We proved to everybody, yes, we can do it. We can offer this solution at an entry level price of 4,000 euros per year. Um, and this is the future. So I will do as little as possible in the kernels of B1 and ByDesign and drive the big innovation topics, be it I talked about CO2. Circular economy is another topic on the top of the list of my customers. There is a big topic around the corner, latest 2026, we will see the digital euro. And we see already today the digital ringgit. I think that's what it's called in India. And we will see a lot more central bank money. At the same time, I now have the first customers to say, look, we run virtual horse races and we pay and we receive payments in cryptocurrencies. How do you do that? Um, Honestly, do you want me to do this 3 times in a row and then maintain it 3 times in a row? No. So therefore, to tell a long story short, the article had its fair points, but the conclusion, unfortunately, was wrong. And then Reuters got that conclusion and translated it even in the worst possible way, and that allowed me to talk to many concerned customers and partners.
I can imagine. So we're safe, still development within SAP, still plans around by design, business one, etc. And
Absolutely, but the strategic intent is build the innovations on BTP and make S4 the most attractive solution.
Hi, we're the UK and Ireland SAP user group. Did you know we're a fiercely independent not for profit? Did you know we're a vibrant community of over 6,500 SAP users? And did you know we help each other by sharing resources, championing education, and influencing SAP's future development? Well, you do now. If you'd like to get the most from your SAP investments and be in the know, visit our website sapusers.org/pod. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
so just on that BTP element,
Mhm.
obviously it's a big solution from an SAP standpoint. And you mentioned I think £4,000 a year for a solution. Is that for the carbon footprint management
Yes.
solution?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the carbon footprint management solution, obviously including all of the BTP services that I need to run this solution.
Okay, and how can customers access BTP? Is that an offering,
Yes.
dare I say, free of charge from SAP? Or is that another, obviously, budgetable item customers need to be looking at to be able to access these innovations?
Yeah. Well, as much as I would love to provide it free of charge, unfortunately, the platform consumes energy, and I need a couple of CO2 certificates and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm not allowed to provide anything free of charge because if I would do that, people may argue that I'm limiting competition. So SAP is very strict. If something costs something, we must charge out and we can't subsidize. So Business Technology Platform is a normal offering on the SAP price list. Um, it is, and there are trial versions available free of charge, so that you can use it. But obviously, the moment you start to run, you build an application and you want to use it productively, then you expect that there's a bunch of people working in the background making sure that the application works. So therefore, it has its price tag, but it is pretty similar in the way how you license it to Microsoft Azure or other platforms which are available in the market. What a couple of companies asked me, why should I use BTP if I already have Azure or something else? And my answer is BTP is a special purpose platform specifically designed to build mission critical commercial applications. And that's where the value add of BTP uh, is visible. And we are using it as our platform to build stuff. And therefore, I can wholeheartedly recommend it, especially to my partners and obviously my larger customers who want to develop stuff on their own.
Okay. And I understand that BTP is consumption-based pricing as well, isn't it? You obviously pay for what you consume.
The services go by different metrics,
Hmm.
sometimes by memory consumptions, sometimes by CPU. For example, and this is then also part of my role as product management. If I take a carbon footprint solution to market, I can't ask anybody how many API calls will you consume or how many megabytes or gigabytes of memory do you need? So um, the right metric from my perspective to charge for a carbon footprint management solution is for how many products do you calculate the footprint. So it's not the number of users, because hopefully you have as few people as possible in the company to do it. So therefore, I basically decide about the metric, which would be number of products, and then I try to get into balance for myself. How do I translate the number of products into memory API consumption and whatever services I consume from BTP.
Okay. And the carbon, just to clarify, the carbon footprint management is really aimed for the manufacturing sector.
Yes, we started with the manufacturing industry because that is where it's quote unquote the easiest. For a company who has their manufacturing data in ByDesign, in Business One, in S4, we can pull a lot of data out of the underlying SAP system. What you need to add are two things. One is the allocations that you need to apply, for example, from your transport companies or whatever you name it. The second thing you need to do is you need to add an energy flow model. Because if you want to properly allocate carbon footprint along the production, you need to say how much energy do I consume in which step. So what this carbon footprint management solution basically does, it imports all of the relevant data. That's the easy part. It adds the energy flow model, it adds the allocations, and then does the calculation. So that's what it brings to the table. Now we obviously have a long list of future topics. One aspect is how would such a solution look like for a professional services company who has lots of company cars flying through the world, stuff like that. Other things are, especially the manufacturing companies say, hey, amazing that you have this, but we would like to be more fine granular on the allocations and stuff like that. So there we're working, and we will publish in a couple of weeks the roadmap for an even bigger product footprint management solution, because it's really a topic that will keep us busy for many, many years.
Oh, excellent. Good, good. And just we've talked quite a bit there on ByDesign and on BTP and on solutions that can be accessed by customers, and we also touched on the S4 public cloud. And if I go back a number of years, the the noise, if you like, coming out of SAP was, we want a cloud first. That's what we're looking at. And, so are we looking towards a future that it could be cloud only? And in that case, where does Business One fit in the overall cloud aspirations?
Yeah. So I hope that we reach a point where we talk less about the deployment models in the future. Because to me, sometimes it sounds a bit like a discussion. Would you like your software on a DVD, on a CD, or on a tape? And at the end of the day, we should, and I think that is SAP's mission also. We shouldn't be prescriptive about the delivery format. We shouldn't be prescriptive about the licensing model. We shouldn't be prescriptive about who actually provides the service. Every customer has their preference. When I recently talked to a very large customer of SAP, and they are using S4HANA, and I said, which version are you using? And they said on-premise. I said, why not public cloud? And they said, look, two reasons. One reason is about they have a lot of extensions and they fall under FDA regulation. So they need full autonomy about when they upgrade systems. But in the public cloud world, I'm the only one who decides about the upgrade cycles. I'm publishing
Yeah.
it 2 years in advance, but that's it. So there are certain aspects there. The second thing was they said, look, we have 2 data centers fully equipped with machines, with teams who know exactly what they are doing, and we can perform this service at a lower price what we will have to spend for if we go with the hyperscalers or whatsoever. So, will we see a cloud-only world? Nope. Um, I know Business One customers who are so excited that they can buy Business One simply to put it on their balance sheet and to activate it as an asset. And to show it to the bank, look, we are running our solution on SAP. We're a grown-up company. Uh, if you go to Africa, if you go to Latin America, you not always have the perfect cloud infrastructure. It is improving,
Hmm.
um, but so definitely Business One on premise. I will not see the end of Business One on premise, and I'm doing all and everything, and I always say it be one forever. At the same time, I'm not blind because I'm listening to all of my partners. They want a stronger B1 cloud experience because that is what specifically the younger generation demands. So we will also invest in that area. B1, again, like ByDesign from a features and functions perspective, perfect. I don't see any major things which I need to do, but on the Business One side, I have a long list of things that I would like to do regarding cloud qualities, also for Business One. But to be absolutely clear, this does not mean at all that I'm moving away from B1 on premise. That thing has its justification for a long, long, long future.
Okay, thank you. And just on that, bringing partners into play there,
Hmm.
and the role partners play in all of
Yeah.
this. I've seen probably over the last 12 to 24 months a little bit of consolidation, if you like, I think, in the partner market, where we've had some large, what you would probably class as a Business One partner, acquiring or partnering with by design partners, etc. And you talked about earlier the three key solutions for
Hmm.
the small to mid enterprises. Are we therefore now in a position where partners are supporting SAP to provide the solutions that the customers need rather than the solutions they sell?
The part we have no strategic play without the partners, and for us who are working in the mid market, this is the most obvious statement. Uh, but I can tell you, especially if you talk to more of my friends from the large enterprise division in SAP, um, that is not yet their mantra. Whenever we build something in the mid-market, we build first the APIs. And we always say, whatever I build will not be complete. Um, I've done many development projects over the years with partners where partners said, look, we can build this piece, but that piece is too heavy for us. And sometimes I only build backend functionalities, uh, published the APIs, and the partners built the user interface for it. So therefore, the partners, we, we need to understand what is the business model of the partner. How does a partner make money? The partner makes money by reselling SAP solutions, but nobody will get rich by just reselling. The partners will definitely implement and configure the solution for the customers, but the most important, from my perspective, the The most important role is that the partners really go the last mile. They close the gaps. They build the integration scenarios to the revolving door that the customer is using for time tracking. They are building the integrations into the electronic scales that the customer is using. They are building the integration into the local payroll provider that the customer is using. So this is the most important, for me, selfishly, the most important thing, because without this last mile, my solution does not look as attractive as it should.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And obviously, partners do play that important part. And I was talking to our partner. We're a business by design user here at the user group, and I was talking to our partner around invoice automation recently,
Yes.
and just circling back to we talked about ChatGPT earlier and AI, and where does AI and automation, what role does that play in the future of Business One and Business by Design?
I would say it plays a hidden role.
It's always good if it's hidden. If nobody knows it's there and it's working away, that's perfect.
Yeah. Look, I can give a lecture about how we are using neural networks for complex image recognition.
Yeah, that sounds like it'll go over my head.
And the customers would say, again, he talked me into a deep sleep phase. Or I can say, here's my phone. I take a picture of a supplier invoice, and the moment I press the send button or a few seconds later, you can see the invoice, but not as image, but as electronic document in your Business One system, in your S4 system, in your ByDesign system. And you never need to key in data again unless the system or the recognition quality was not as high as it should be. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at all of the artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities, all of the advanced stuff that I have available to me via the business technology platform. And like I said, I translate from one metric to another. In the pricing example, I translate what could I do with these things to add value to my customers. So automating scenarios, taking pictures of documents and not keying them in manually, obviously is a big value add because you can save time. To give you another example, we have, as part of the underlying HANA database, we have in the HANA database, there's a so-called predictive analytics library. And these are about 80 very advanced statistical methods. The normal reaction is, okay, go out, hire a couple of data scientists. Should you be successful, please give me a ring and tell me how you did it. Because these animals are not available in the normal labor market. And if you find them, they probably want more money than your managing director, which is also not good.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I have a few of these animals. And what they, for example, told me is, look, Rainer, what we can do is with the classification algorithm, we can look at all of the historic opportunities in the system and the historic sales orders. And we can identify which opportunities became sales orders and what were the key parameters. And now we can take that learning and apply it to all of the fresh opportunities. And we can predict which of those opportunities will most likely become a sales order and which ones you should disengage from as fast as you can. When I talk to a customer and say, look, I can help you to make smarter decisions by simply eliminating opportunities that will not make it to the finish line. This is a true value add. If I would tell them, go and hire some data scientists, they would not like that. So therefore, I will use as much AI, ML as I can get my hands around, specifically for Business One and ByDesign, because for both products, I'm operating in the market where that specific skill set is really short. But I will quotes and quotes hide it and say, look, I'm providing these scenarios, but at the same time, if you go to open.sap.com, you will find new courses on how to use the automation technology that SAP brings to the table, how to use these predictive analytics capabilities that SAP brings to the table, because I can inspire my partners to look at these capabilities that I'm now adding. But I'm only scratching the surface. There's a company in the UK, Sapphire Systems. When Sapphire first saw the automation capabilities, they saw things that I did not see. And I was last year in one of their events, and they had about, I think, 30, 40 customers in the room, and they talked about automation, and they did a quick show of hands. How many of the customers would have ideas for own automation scenarios? And at least 2/3 of the people raised their hands. So I can start the fire, but it's really then the partners who carry that forward and drive this business. And always, I'm not very good in predicting these things. I'm always astonished when I see what the partners do and accomplish with our solutions. That's always the fun part of my business.
It's certainly, when you look at that, when you've got that partner community innovating on alongside SAP, it just expands the opportunities for customers so much, and for customers to get solutions that they need for their businesses. So, and just thinking about that for the moment and innovating and moving forward, kind of as we come towards the end of our discussion, what do you think, Business One, ByDesign, and S4 Public Cloud, because obviously we talked about that into the future and being more relevant to the mid-market. What do you think they're going to look like in 5 years' time?
This is a little bit like Christmas.
Yeah.
As I said, I have different priorities. So for Business One, I would love to see a more cloud appeal, specifically to win the net new customers who have a certain expectation. For all of them, I would hope that we've made a massive step forward to, let's call it, a next generation user experience. And that would include things like what we discussed at the very beginning. How do you use chat capabilities? I also have ideas about how we should visualize business processes. I talked already 2 or 3 years ago to Chinese customers who said, Rainer, when you say order to cash, we have the impression that you somehow have a mental map. For us, these are 3 words which have no linkage yet. So we must be better in explaining to people, this is the process where you are. This is the roadmap. You've entered the order. The next step is this. Then comes the billing. Then comes the payment. Then comes that. So there we need more capabilities, and we have ideas what we could do there. By design, I want to keep it as stable as possible. That is the most important thing, and innovate through the business technology platform. S4, my focus will be make it easier to implement. That I think is one of the key things. So I can take a lot of the learnings that we specifically generated with ByDesign regarding implementability, extensibility, ease of use. That's where I think I can add to the benefit of S4. And that will keep us super busy for the next years.
Thank you. And finally, where do you suggest customers or potential customers out there look to learn more about ByDesign and Business One and S4 Public Cloud?
I would always recommend that they go to open.sap.com. It's our free of charge, open source, how is it called now? Massively open university, something like that. There's a new four-letter acronym. But use it. There are at least 10 ByDesign courses by now, which cover everything. In Business One, the learning behavior is a bit more different. It's more to the point where the customers rather look at the partners to provide the know-how there. But BTP and S4, there's a lot of content available, and I would just start there. I recently or yesterday I read a blog post by one of the industry analysts, John Reed from Diginomica, who covered another ERP vendor who said, we are declaring that from now on knowledge will be free of charge. And I said to myself, welcome to the party. I'm doing that since years. Yeah.
Thank you. Rainer, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your insights. I really enjoyed talking to you today, and I think we might just have to follow up on the ChatGPT conversation sometime in the future. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. Please make sure you do subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.